My name is Tinashe Mudziviri, and I'm from the Talent Department of the High Life Foundation. Today I'm going to give you a presentation on the Global Trends 2030 Alternative Worlds. This is the 5th edition of the National Intelligence Council's publications, which were started in 1996. And this 5th one focuses on a number of issues that will stimulate thinking to governments and even to business people. To start with, let us go straight into the critical issues that were identified to be very important in 2030. It is likely that we are going to see black swans, which in this case I described as disruptive impact surprises. The first one of them is climate change. In climate change, you all know that the ozone layer is getting into trouble, and these are going to cause a lot of disruptions in the future. There's the reformed Iran, where we talk of an Iran which has abandoned their nuclear project, and now they are rebuilding with greater ties and collaboration with other nations. We'll talk of EU and the EU collapse. This mainly will be caused by the exertion of the Greek when they leave unexpectedly, and then also the severe pandemic. Doctors do not even know the next virus or pathogen which is going to cause a disease. So these are some of those surprises that people should anticipate for. The democratic or collapsed China, either way, whether China becomes democratic or it collapses, it will still cause serious consequences. And then the nuclear war or the cyber attacks, with the way technology is moving, by 2030, these elements are going to affect the way we do business. And then solar geomagnetic storms. Because the world is now very much relying on electricity, a lot of communications are going to be interrupted by what's going to happen in the solar system. And then the disengagement of the US. Since it is like the superpower and it is playing the big leader role, if they disengage from that role, it's likely not going to be easy for another player to come in and be a champion, or for the world to progress without such a big champion. So I'll get now deeper into my presentation. This presentation deals with aspects that were not dealt with in the previous 4 editions since 1996, like I highlighted. And these elements include the first one of them, and most important, being a greater focus on the role of the United States on the international system. After this presentation, people should definitely have a clear understanding of the role that the US will play. There will not be major surprises, and then there will be a clearer understanding of the central units in the international system, how business will be functioning and leadership. And then this third one, my favorite, this one talks about China, when they say we are going to focus on a better grasp of time and speed. And we'll see that as China rises, Russia, in opposite terms, will be decreasing. And you can see Mr. Putin raising his head there, but unfortunately his economy will be on the downturn. And then another important element will be a greater discussion of crisis and discontinuities, followed by our attention to ideology, and then lastly, more understanding of second and third order consequences. Now, as we get into this presentation, there are 2 main words that are used, and I'll just briefly explain them. The first one being megatrends. These are factors that will likely occur under any scenario. These ones are going to happen whatever happens. We are not speculating about them. And then the second term is game changer. Now, game changers are a bit different from megatrends in that game changers they have critical variables whose trajectory are far less certain. It's not obvious that they will happen, but together they are going to influence what's going to happen by 2030. Now, all these megatrends and game changers will likely stimulate issues such as the growing urbanization, which are areas of opportunity for business, be it High Life Foundation, Economic Wireless, or even Africa at large. And then there are issues like what people need to do. They need to make sure that by 2030, the positives far outweigh the negatives, so that the people by that time will have a better lifestyle. And then the manufacturing sector is expected to grow, and then the middle class standard of living will rise because people will be migrating and moving to the urban areas. And then another issue is the creation of livable environments. As people increase and their numbers improve, it will have an impact on their living conditions because the resources will not be enough. And then the last point is the productive environment for business. since many people will be involved and will be in the urban areas, there will be need for legislation and for governments to intervene. Now, the megatrends, as I had described them as before, these are elements will likely, they are going to happen. We're certain about them. There are 4 megatrends according to this publication. The first one being individual empowerment. In this area, we're talking about how people now will not depend on other people. They will be better educated, and their needs will be more focused on the individual. And then we have demographic patterns. These ones include issues like migration and their involvement by 2030. And the third one is the growing nexus among food, water, and energy. As the population increases, you see that the resources will be scarce, and especially in sub-Saharan Africa and even in Asia, where there are signs of growth in our population, but the resources are not matching that. These are the important characteristics of 2030 that we need to take care of. Now, as we move on to the megatrends, now explaining them. Megatrend number 1, individual empowerment. What we're going to focus on mainly is there will be seen a reduction in poverty. Now, when poverty reduces, a lot of people will be empowered, and it means that the buying power of people will improve. For example, like what is going to happen to China when they are PPP, there will be about 15,000 US dollars. Individuals will have a greater buying power, and then the middle class will also improve. But this will not happen in all the countries, because in some developed countries, the population will be aging, but in countries such as Africa, especially sub-Saharan Africa, the middle class will be increasing, as you can see on the trajectory. Now, and the third element is the growth of ICTs and innovation. These 3 elements are likely going to affect and influence our 2030. Megatrend number 2 are the diffusion of power. Now, by the diffusion of power, we'll see that power will not be concentrated on one individual like what's happening now. We won't really have a major power or a big superpower like the United States. It is forecasted that India and China will be in the first tier, and they'll be the most powerful, followed by 5 countries, which are Egypt, South Africa, Indonesia, and Iraqi, who are likely to be in those countries. And since South Africa is a neighbor of Zimbabwe, we can take cues from them, and we can even partner with them and take advantage of their being amongst the super collaborating networks which will be in power by that time. And then the third one, the United States. The superpower is expected to be third on the power rankings by that time. And then megatrend number 3. This one deals with migration. A lot of people are going to move from the rural and to the urban areas, and this is going to create opportunities in transport, opportunities in office space. There will be need for buildings, like I have highlighted there. Construction will be big business. But for other countries now, they will be having an aging economy. Countries such as the USA and some in Europe who have an aging population, as compared to sub-Saharan Africa, where we will have an increase in the youth, in those who are between the ages of 25 and 40, those who can work. So there will be greater opportunity and a greater possibility that Africa will be at an advantage by that time. And then the 4th mega trend is a food and water energy crisis. Like I was saying about the 4th mega trend, which is food, water, and energy crisis. This nexus, as you can see on the images there, it's being caused by mainly a change in climate and an increase in population. And then also shortage of water is being caused by many companies which are polluting the ozone layer, so we can't get enough rain. But all of these present an opportunity for business, especially for us in Africa, where it is known that we have droughts, and it has been happening for the past, decades. The opportunities available are for the use of technologies. If there are ways for people to make sure that we get enough water by probably drilling or the use of vertical farming, or even introducing the genetically modified organisms, these ones will not take much, but everyone will be able to get enough food. And then the use of fertilizers and other innovations to make sure that this mega trend is dealt with. Now, I'll go over to game changers. By simple definition, a game changer is an event or an idea or a procedure that affects a significant shift in the current manner of doing things. Now, game changers in this case, together with the mega trends, they will contribute to what will happen by 2030. And according to the document Global Trends 2030, Alternative Worlds, there are 6 game changers. The first one of them being the crisis-prone global economy. When there is crisis, obviously there's going to be damage, but it is also a place for opportunity. And when in crisis, you know that people will need safety, people will need also foodstuffs and shelter, and these are opportunities which are galore. And then the second game changer is governance, is the governance gap. Like you will see, governments should now start using the internet, emails. They should get into technology so that people can be accessed as they increase in population, at the same time as there is an increased move onto the urban areas where people have internet connection and electricity. The third game changer is the potential for increased conflict. Now, when there is a potential for increased conflict, there's bound to be a lot of dialogue, and people, when they trade, they are going to be very, very careful. This will always give opportunities as well. And then the fourth game changer is wider scope of regional instability. Now, regions will be unstable, but as you can remember, we talked about power being shifted from superpowers and being put into networks. So coalition and those guys who get together and form networks will thrive in the near future, which is an important lesson for those who love to learn. Now, the fifth game changer is the impact of new technologies. This one, it's inevitable. You see in the short clip that I'll play for you as we end this presentation, that new technologies are coming in, not only in the ICTs, but in all the facets, in all the faculties, so that people can be serviced in a better way. And then the last game changer is the role of the United States. At the introduction of my presentation, I talked about the United States as the superpower. And there are such issues as its disengagement when they leave their role as the superpower. Sometimes things are going to be difficult, but now if it's clear the role that the United States is going to play, it is going to be easy. And if it is not clear, or if it continues to interfere, let's say for example in internal politics of other sovereign states, there is bound to be changes in the way people are going to do business. Now, my final question to you, which would be a bit of a paradigm shift, is your leadership ready for these changes? And as I conclude, I want you to watch this short clip, and it will give you an understanding of what I've been talking about. It's in summary, but it is to prepare the leadership. My question to you is, are you ready? Mega trend in terms of leadership is that the world is changing, and the 21st century has gone the Asian way. China and India are dominating. The population is growing in all developing countries, including Zimbabwe, our very own. And China's economy is growing by 8% every year, as you can see. So it is going to maintain its superpower status in terms of the economy. But are your leaders all going to be able to understand all the Indian markets? Are they going to speak the languages that are coming up? And the population is now changing. People are now being more learned. By 2030, people will be older, and the average age will be around the age of 34. So that's over 30 million men of marriageable size in China alone, because China is 1 billion already. So will your company be attractive to this workforce, or will you be able to offer flexible working? Because it will be technology by that time. This will need to be family friendly. Now the workforce will have changed. Staff will be more mobile. People will not need to be confined to certain spaces. We would need more networks, less centralization. People should be allowed to make decisions by that time, which means that there will be a higher staff, less turnover and less loyalty. But how good are your leaders? Are they able to maintain these people? Will they be able to create personal loyalty when the change comes? So when the climate changes as well, by 2030 you can see that the emissions are increasing, and it is projected that all our rainfall will be troubled. So all companies will have to focus on sustainability and ISO certifications. Now climate change will be a business cost, and this booster will
will be the major difference. The global world will know it. And how will your company maintain a competitive advantage in that time? These are the questions that should be in your mind. The workplace has changed. All work will be done on the cloud. People should have devices. Starting right now, iPads, people should start using those devices. And can your leaders motivate staff? Are they able to use the equipment? Can they also work 24 hours a day? Can they be limitless? Can they embrace these new technologies? That's the question I'm asking you. Can your staff, as the world is changing, can your leaders handle it? Can your company's leaders do the same? So you gotta keep abreast. I rest my case.